Are you seeking guidance on your spiritual journey? Need help with a vexing problem? Missing a loved one and looking for answers? Look no further than Psychic Insights, a small trusted psychic service offering mediums, psychics, and spiritual coaching. This service is managed by Hollis Taylor, a gifted psychic medium, astrologer, and a compassionate coach. We are dedicated to helping you navigate your spiritual awakening. At Psychic Insights, we provide medium readings and psychic insight to help you plan for tomorrow and make choices for today. Find the support you need, compassionate grief coaching, and astrological insights to help you spiritually grow and transform. Our professional services include well-managed schedules, recorded sessions, and reliable psychic mediums ready to facilitate your transformational experience. Discover more at psychicinsights.life.
Hey everyone, how you doing? It's Hollis here. I hope you're having a happy season. I would call this a thinning of the veil season, and I hope that you're getting readings or studying how to. I hope so, because this is the best time of year to do that, in case you didn't know. And it's so it's Samhain is coming up, and so I'm glad you're all here. Hi, Christian Naves. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. And I'm just getting things going. Hi, Shauna Lynn. It's good to have you with me. Hi, Tanya and Jade. It's great to have you here. Samantha. Hey, Nikki. It's great to have you with us. Hi, Heather. Samantha said my altar ready, but my cat thinks it's for her and keeps eating the plant on it. You should buy your cat catnip. Does your cat have a catnip plant? Hi, Barbara. It's good to have you with us. Welcome. Welcome. Hi, Bernadette Duffy and Pamela Perkins. I'm so glad you're here. And thank you, everyone, for showing up and tuning in. And, this is going to be a lot about questions. This is a great time to ask questions. Hi, Jamie. Good evening. And thanks, Shonalyn. Thanks for thinking I'm pleasant. Some people think I'm kind of blunt. I am that. I do tend to just come out with it. I don't beat around the bush. I hate when people do that to me. So I don't usually do that to others. And anyway, I'm glad you're all here. Today is a little bit of like a question and answer type of deal. I am a coach. I do coaching, and I have a class at the end of the month. It's actually next week. I haven't looked recently, but I know I had a couple more signups. So if you want to be in that class, then I'm going to strongly suggest you get signed up for it ASAP, because it's I'm not going to be selling recordings of it or anything like that. It's only $22. And the thing is that I'm going to give you a link here. You see it right at the top. And as soon as you go to that link, it's called Learn to Connect to the Other Side with Hollis Taylor. Now, this is a really great class because it's really great for beginners. I actually come from a traditional belief system that believes that everyone has the ability to connect to the other side, but most of us block it. And mostly that's because of our current culture doesn't exactly support third eye or spiritual belief systems and mostly dismiss it as non-existent. But at the same time, we suffer greatly from grief and we're all divorced from death. And with that, that's because of our divorce from death is part of why we suffer so much. And that's why this class is so important, because in my tradition, in my belief system, I believe that each and every one of you has the ability to connect with someone on the other side, particularly the people that were around you, your loved ones. Okay. It, and I believe that they send you signs all the time and that grief blocks it. But I also believe that you are more than capable of having a conversation with your loved ones on the other side. And in fact, I see it as a source of healing for grief. So if you're suffering from major grief and have always wondered, can I speak to my husband, my child, my loved one? Then the answer is yes, you can. And that's what this class is about. It's only $22 because I'll be teaching, everyone. It's like a 90-minute class. I'll be doing it twice next week. I think it's on Wednesday night, and then I'll be doing it again the following week, November 8th. And it's all in honor for this time of year. This is a great time of year to learn about connecting to the other side. Could really boost your confidence because this is the easiest time of year to do it. And so it's yes, I think mediums are gifted. So people sometimes are like, but Hollis, yeah, mediums are gifted. Are they gifted connecting to the other side? Mm, I think what they're gifted at is they're gifted in holding space for it. They're gifted in holding space for you. They're gifted in listening to your grief and helping you to see that that spirit is around you. I think that that's what they're gifted at. They're healers. Mediums, good mediums are healers. They're here to heal your heart, your loss, your whatever is going on for you. That's what a medium is, okay? Now, I mean, there's been lots of, it's transformed over the years. Good evening, Jennifer. Okay, get in for November 8th, Jennifer. I look forward to having you then. Um, if it's not super expensive. I think, and it's just a beginner. It's just to kind of kick you off to get you started. And it's super important because I think that that's one of the reasons we suffer from so much grief. And psychiatrists know that's to be true. They say that the best way to heal from grief is to have a ritual, and spiritual rituals are really good. Having a spiritual belief system helps people heal faster from loss. So, and most of us are kind of like, I don't know about you, but I mean, I was raised Catholic, and I don't know. I mean, if you were raised Christian, they kind of leave you in the dark when it comes to the other side, don't you think? Hi, Jamie. Um, and so I'm glad that I've changed it. When I got to be a teenager, I really questioned Christianity and I changed. And in my 20s, my father passed. And when I started to realize mediumship and things like that, that's when I started to establish a true connection to my ancestors on the other side. And so the class leads us right into our subject today, which is about honoring the dead. Okay. Honoring your ancestors. And it's not just about your great great grandmother. It's also about your husband or your kid or your brother or whatever. It doesn't matter if they're on the other side, they're your ancestor. Okay? So sometimes people think only ancestors and sometimes people think that it's only not only is it only dead people, I mean, not only is it only like people from long, long, long ago, but that ancestors is also only people that were blood related, and that's not true either. Okay? So if you have questions, you can put them in the comments and I'm happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability. Um you Oh my gosh, Jennifer said, "Yes, it is. I'm going to a doctor now that really hasn't done nothing for me. This group has honestly helped me." You're welcome, Jennifer. As I said, spirituality and a spiritual approach to death is actually the healthiest that we see as far as like psychiatrists and psychologists go. Hi, Kristen, and hi, Jen Hinchcliffe. Hi. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. And remember, you can just ask your questions. Hi, Barbara. You can just put your questions right in the chat. Shauna said, same thing for me, Jennifer. Hey, I'm there with you, guys. I mean, when my dad died in my 20s, it was really awful. It was really hard. I felt like he was the only parent that ever loved me. And so I had a really hard time with it. And I was like, and I had a crisis of faith too. I was like, great spirit. So I don't know what kind of God loves me, but they took the one parent that loved me, and I was pretty angry, confused, sad, and mediumship saved me. And then I also started to explore more of like witchcraft and alternative spiritual um like alternative spiritual faith, if that makes sense. So like um so I started to explore back then, and I was probably about 25, 26. I started to explore when I was 13, but later I started to dive deeper, especially as I realized that I could connect to the other side. There was some mediumship I started doing. I participated in a variety of different traditions and different ways of doing it. And I can assure you that they're all connected. And like sometimes people think that like if they get a reading from somebody that um like isn't accurate, or they didn't feel connected or whatever, that reader is a scammer. So that's not true. It just means that you and that reader are not connected. Maybe that reader should give you your money back, but assuming you paid for it. But it doesn't mean that they're a scammer. Mediums are humans, like, see, we have skin and flesh, so we make mistakes. And sometimes we misinterpret things. Sometimes we're having a bad day. Oh, it could just be too many things to say. So I'm just going to say, just because a reader gets it wrong doesn't mean they're a scammer. It just means that that reading wasn't a good match for you. Okay, that's what it means. Um, I mean, there are definitely mediums out there that are scammers. The ones that are scammers are the ones that are telling you that you're possessed. They're the ones that are telling you, uh, they're the ones that are messaging you even after you've had a reading with them, and they're like, "Oh, your cousin, your brother reached out to me and wants to talk to you." That's probably a scammer. I'd watch out for a reader like that. Any reader that gaslights you, toxic positivity is a problem. And they usually are narcissistic if they're toxic. Okay. So now let's ask your question here. Shauna said, "Can you please explain karmic debt? If a person has karmic debt for you, does that mean that they have to be around you, not because they want to be, or does it diminish their love for you because they've forced to be around you?" Okay, Shauna, you're still putting humanness on the spirit on the other side. So just knock it off. So remember, spirits on the other side are not human. So that is like some of the biggest thing that a lot of people have a hard time swallowing, because we only know the human experience, and I get it. That's why I spend a lot of time asking my ancestors, "I don't understand this because I'm human." And they get that. They get that you're human. So spirits on the other side are very, very invested in you evolving to your best self. They are 1,000% invested. Okay. They want to make sure that you evolve to the best version of yourself. So therefore, they are always sort of there with you. Now, some spirits have a little bit of a karmic debt because maybe they hurt you while they were here because they didn't evolve to their best self. Okay. And that happens a lot. And sometimes it's just not time for them to evolve to their best self, but they did the best they could while they were here. Maybe they were traumatized as a child, right? We don't believe that children are born evil, right? Okay. Right. Most of us don't believe that. Most of us know that a child is born and they're perfectly fine, and then they're traumatized as a child, and then they act out. And that's what makes bad people bad people. That's how evil people exist. They're not born. They are made. Okay? And so then when a person does that, yeah, they are carrying usually karma from a past life. There's karma in a lot of different ways. And most of us even will have some sort of karmic debt, probably to our children, probably also to our spouse, because none of us are perfect. Okay. And so karmic debt is like they're going to do, let's just say this was your dad or your boyfriend and he was physically abusive. So then what's going to happen is, as a spirit on the other side, he's no longer a human, so he's not going to physically abuse you. What he's going to do is he's going to make sure that no one else comes along and physically abuses you, or he'll try to give you red flags and be like, red flag, not that guy. Hey, stay away from that person. And they will continuously give you signs and do everything they can to interfere with you being with a toxic person. And they will try to get you to heal and try to take you to people, places, things, programs, or education or whatever that would help you heal. So Shauna, your boyfriend is probably pushing you towards this group and has probably pushed you towards me and to ask me these questions so that you can begin to heal, because so that's probably why you feel drawn. That's probably right. You believe, she says, I believe my boyfriend brought me here. Right. And that's probably because even though he was toxic, now he's on the other side and now he's like, oh, I messed that up so bad. And so now he has to turn around and say, okay, Shauna, look, go this way. Look, that person over there will help you heal. Okay. Because now he's not human anymore. He doesn't have that trauma. He's not carrying through hatred and anger and other things like that. Okay. All right. All right, now let's get to Jade's question. Look, I can't, you guys can't. 2 days before my mom told me my brother died, I told my mom he was going to, and it turned out the day he died was the day I said that. I told the doctors the next time I was going to be in there. If they didn't help, my baby would be stillborn, and he was. I have a strong ability to know some things before it's wrong. I just don't always know what to do. Know the what. Does that mean I have the ability to connect? Maybe you have great intuition and vision. You're psychic. So your intuition is telling you that something was, so your intuition told you, and that's pretty common for moms. All moms have great intuition, especially in relation to their children. Everyone, as I already mentioned before, Jade, maybe you weren't listening. I'm going to repeat it for you. Jade, Alyssa, everyone can connect to the other side. I promise. So that means you, because you're part of everyone. Okay? Everyone. Because you have to be able to connect to the other side, because you have to be able to listen to your spirit guides and communicate with your spirit guides. It was always believed that anyone can connect to the other side. Some people have a stronger ability to do it for others or have like a counselor vibe. And so they make great mediums, counselors, and psychics. Okay. And so those people are healers. So it's the healing that's coming through as a medium, not the ability. The ability is everyone has that ability. Okay. What's coming through for a medium is actually just their healing. It's just that they're a healer. And so they're trying to heal people and they're using mediumship to do that. Okay. Um, okay. Barbara asked, when you have major anxiety and depression, does that block the ability to feel their guidance? It does, Barbara. And it doesn't always block it. I mean, sometimes, so it depends on what you're doing about that anxiety. Okay. If you're taking medications, then you're blocking it. The medications actually block it. But the anxiety and the depression are there for a reason. So if you're anxious, you should be asking yourself, why am I anxious? What within me is asking to be expressed? What am I not expressing? Because that's why you're anxious, because there is something within you that's not expressing. And so you're suppressing some sort of authentic self, and that's making you anxious. It happens to transgender people all the time because we walk around in the world afraid that people are going to kill us because we're trans. So we're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And so we're always hiding it, right? Or we feel like we should be hiding it, but we're out, but we're not. And then we're in and we're out. And it's this anxious anxiety that's created and that's why transgender people kill themselves. Depression is because you are not doing something you are supposed to be doing. So what is it? If you're really stuck and you don't know why you're anxious and depressed, then I would strongly suggest that you go get an astrology reading. And that's why we support each other. That's why I have times that I'm anxious. I hate cities. I get really anxious in certain situations. If I think a person is a hater for trans people, I'm going to be real anxious that they might try to hurt me or they might attack me. So, like that kind of thing really does happen. So you really and every time I'm depressed, it's because I'm not doing something I'm supposed to be doing. Okay? I'm not listening to something. I'm avoiding something. I'm pushing something down. That's depression. And sometimes anxiety causes depression, right? So if you're taking medications, it will probably block some of their guidance or all of their guidance, depending on what and how much. So if you want to open it up, I suggest an astrology reading, an astrology natal chart reading. Oh, you have hormones, Barbara. Well, that's that's a totally different conversation. I'll get to that in just a second because I like to do them in order so I don't lose track. Okay. So I see your thing about Barbara, we'll talk about hormones in just a minute, okay? I've always been told I'm just an empathic person, but I've always felt it was more than that. I think everybody's empathic. Everybody is empathic. Anyone that's survived childhood trauma is empathic, actually. And yeah, I get anxiety too sometimes, Jade. Jade said that sometimes my anxiety gets triggered when I'm feeling things. Me too. I was very anxious before COVID because I seen it coming like a brick wall. It was like watching a train wreck. I knew it was coming, but I couldn't put two and two together. I knew that we would be isolated and I knew that there was going to be a sickness that would kill people. And I just wasn't sure exactly how it was going to unfold. And obviously we know how it unfolded now, but I was very anxious. And so I'm very anxious now because I know something's going to happen around the election. I'm super anxious. The astrology points to it too and validates my fear. And so, Jade, what I can say about those feelings when you know something's going to happen and you're like, right? Okay. Totally get it because that happens to me all the time. Is that to recognize my guides have said, but Hollis, we're trying to tell you so that you're prepared, not so that you'll worry, not so that you'll get anxious, but we're trying to tell you so you'll be prepared. So, all what I've started to do is when I get a download about something, I'll say to my guides, okay, I see that this is coming. What should I do to prepare for this? How can I get ready? And that helps like give something for my anxiety to do. Okay? And then your anxiety, so the reason you're having anxiety is cuz you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do with this thing that keeps happening. And it's probably in your astrology chart, Jade. You're probably a completely normal psychic. I know I have it all the time. Um the election makes me very nervous. I'll tell you, sometimes laughing. So sometimes I'll watch funny stuff, um, even about politics, and that will sometimes, help me a little bit. But I also look at astrology, and I've mastered astrology during the COVID pandemic. And what it did for me is it really helped me understand that I want to control it, right? Like, so you think you're having a premonition and you're supposed to control it, but that's not the point of having the premonition. The point of having the premonition is to be prepared. The universe is trying to give you a heads up for some reason. It's trying to help you prepare. So if you're having those anxious feelings about something that's about to happen, then you just need to ask, what can I do? You also can come to recognize that no doubt, the universe is unfolding as it should. Like the fact that your child, that you had a stillborn was meant to be. I assure you that it was meant to be, as hard as that might be. But I want you to think about it for a minute. So the universe is always trying to get us to evolve to the next level. It's trying to get us to become angels or enlightened beings, okay? Whatever you want to call it, okay? And so we're all working to that level. And that's why we have many lifetimes, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And we're trying to become better people each lifetime, right? And then what happens sometimes is this soul comes through, but it just has like just a few things it has to do. It won't cost a whole life. It's just something they have to come through. And so that baby comes through, somebody like you, and teaches you, it teaches you, look at that. Jade says, as crazy as it sounds, this is exactly what I'm saying, Jade. And that stillborn comes in and gives you something. And that is their life purpose, is to make your life fall perfectly into place, for you to perfectly understand what was going to happen, and for you to trust your intuition, because maybe it's more important with something bigger later in life. Maybe there's something going to happen with your children that did survive, and you're going to have an intuition about something that you must stop, you see, or something that you can do something about, which I've had that experience too, okay? I've had intuition about things that I'm like, I can definitely do something about this. And so if that happens, Jade, I want to encourage you to understand that the universe wanted you to have that stillborn so that your life would go on the path that it is now. No doubt the universe was unfolding exactly as it should. I bet you if I look in your chart, I can find your stillborn. Yes, Shauna. Yes. Well done, Shauna. So I was supposed to get abused so I can help others. You're supposed to experience that. Maybe some karma from a past life or something. And what those people did was definitely wrong. The abuse was definitely wrong. And then you are meant to come out of it, and others around you inspire them, because you've come out of it, because you've overcome it, because you've changed from it, and show others that they also can change from it, because there will always be trauma in life, even even if people aren't abusing us. There's always trauma. Like the universe, things happen, people die, people live, people get sick. There's hurricanes, right? Okay, there's all kinds of different trauma that happens in the world. Unfortunately, sometimes it is human caused, but not all the time. And so right now humans are working into an evolutionary process, and the universe needs everyone to recognize what's broken within them and then try to work on healing it. And the more we heal, the more we inspire others. Even if we don't teach them directly the way I'm teaching now, even if you just live your life great, like Jade is, and then somebody that is in the middle, that somebody that does have a stillborn tomorrow talks to Jade, and Jade tells her their story. Jade shares her story with that person, and then that person's like, wow, maybe I'm like Jade, maybe my life will change. You see how this goes, and it just goes and goes and goes. Just It's just meant to be that way. Okay. So now let's get back to some other questions. I'm typically able to transfer my anxiety into signs from the other side. Okay, good. Good, Jade. Good job. See, you're getting there. You're probably a really talented psychic. Barbara said, okay, hormones. Barbara, I'm assuming, maybe it's a bad assumption. You can correct me, but I'm betting you're perimenopause or menopausal. This is a so is being pregnant and so is puberty. But menopausal is very special for a variety of reasons. And what happens is as you start to enter menopause and perimenopause, and I'm about to become a menopause certified coach, actually. But I want to integrate spirituality into it, much like I have done with my trauma, with the trauma coaching I do. So here it is that when you start going through, when your hormones are shifting, they are meant to push you in a way that you are meant to become into yourself. So I understand. I'll tell you what, I had this anxiety with my hormone shifts that made me think I was going to die right now, right here. Like I would just be sitting in my bed in the middle of the night and wake up afraid I was going to die. Seriously. I mean, completely panicked, completely off the charts. And my anxiety was completely crazy. It was wild. And I experienced major depression. Okay. Now I'm going to say, it was really bad for me because I also got diagnosed with a genetic heart condition that has a rare occurrence of sudden cardiac death. You know, how athletes die on the basketball court. I have the same condition. Wait, I don't have it. I was diagnosed with that condition. Okay. And so then I would wake up with my heart racing in the middle of the night because of the hormone fluctuations. And so I got on bioidentical HRT, and that really helped reduce it. If you're taking antidepressant, that is just, it's not even a band-aid because it doesn't even work, right, Barbara? So it doesn't even work, so it's not helping you. And it's addictive and you'll be on it forever. So instead try bioidentical HRT to help you with the transition, to help reduce some of that stuff. There's also some herbs and things like that you can try. Also, you need to take a look at yourself and say, am I completely in my power? Because perimenopause is meant to push you in your power. It's meant to put you in your power. You will be in your power, is essentially what your body is now saying. It is saying you are done with motherhood. You are a powerful woman. And that's what's trying to happen. And if you don't listen to that, you will get anxious and depressed. Okay. You will absolutely go down the dark road and there is no coming back. So you have to follow your empowerment. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to be someone that maybe you've been afraid to be. Okay? And as you start to follow that, what will also happen is your pineal gland, which is in the center of your brain, which is why you're having hot flashes, it will also wake up and you'll have those power surges that are pushing that energy up. And that is on purpose because your pineal gland is waking up because you're going to become more psychic, more powerful than anyone ever before, than anyone could have imagined. And that's why older women have always been seen as powerful and kind of scary by men that didn't transition through that, because there is some resilience that comes with that, that by the time you get on the other side, you are, as my spouse would say, you become the woman you always thought you wanted to be. So I don't always like to use woman. You will become the person you always wanted to be. That means standing up for yourself. That means having boundaries. That means saying your truth, which I know all of those things are scary to you. And that's what's making you anxious. Okay? And if you're like, I'm really dealt with all of that stuff, I'm going to suggest that you try bioidentical HRT. It's easy to get a hold of. Just search it. There's a lot of virtual programs online that are real easy. They just blood test you, and then they give you little pellets, and you take it, and it's just a little bit of hormone to keep you balanced. Okay? It's just to keep you from completely losing your mind. Okay? Okay. So, Barbara, you need to see this, instead of seeing perimenopause or menopause as a curse. I want you to instead see it as a sort of coming of age, coming into your power. And there's a lot of women that have talked about it. You might want to check with Oprah Winfrey. It's actually healthier for you to be on bio-HRT if you want to live a long life. Okay? It actually like prevents heart disease and a bunch of other stuff. Okay. I'm reading a book about the archaic records that we all plan our lives before we come here. That's right. Exactly. And we plan exit points. That's correct. And that when a person dies, they have a choice to continue their life or pass over to the other side. And that we make soul contracts. Is this true, or is this exactly? Shauna, that's exactly right. But you know what? You can find out what your plan is when you look at your astrology chart. So, yeah, you make all of those agreements, and you also make an astrology chart, which is your life. It's your plan. And so your astrology chart is your map to life. Okay? And okay, Jade shared that I was abused for years later, and I have been able to save several people from what I went through, and it taught my older boys the importance of how to treat women. Isn't that beautiful, Jade? That's beautiful. See? And your boys are, that's more than you. You're one person, your boys is more than one. Right? Okay? And see how the message has spread already? Yeah, it's spreading better than COVID. Okay. That's right. If you weren't abused, you would never be who you are. It doesn't mean that the abuser was good or was doing the right thing. They did the wrong thing, and they weren't supposed to do that. And it was wrong, but maybe you're supposed to come into terms with that abuse and make, like, for me, like, my mom is one of my abusers. And so by me having the relationship or lack of relationship with my mom, then she can learn that what she did was wrong, right? And she has some recognition that she was abusive. I don't know if she realizes she still is, but who knows? I've tried to tell her. Yep. Barbara, you're perimenopause. Congratulations. I'm 49. I'm in there too. I know it's horrible. It is absolutely, completely off the charts. I'm telling you, Barbara, it's really freaking hard. It is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And I told you, I wake up, I still have it now, but my anxiety, instead of like sending me like it did before the HRT, now when I'm on HRT, I wake up, and now I've also had heart surgery, and I have like an Apple Watch. So like I'll wake up and I'll be like, is my heart beating fast? What's happening right now? Why do I feel like this? And I'm better at and bringing myself down out of the anxiety. So I've learned how to bring myself out of the anxiety. You might want to consider BioHRT. Look at this. Susie K said, I used BioHRT treatment. The best decision ever. Saved my sanity and my marriage. That's right, Susie. Will save your life. It will save you. Barbara, you don't want to be on those medications. Bioidentical HRT is so much safer and it's good for your body long term. Would a reading be able to help find out what my health problems are? I do wellness, and I can look at your astrology. The doctors keep running me in a circle, and I need to think outside the box because I know something is wrong. I just don't know what. Okay, Jade. I have a wellness appointment, and sometimes bring your birthday and stuff to that, okay? And I'll take a look at it. Jade, because I would suggest that you do a wellness thing with me. First of all, I'm medical intuitive. I do have a nursing background. I mean, I'll still send you to a doctor, but I might be able to point you in an appropriate direction. Okay? And I don't know how old you are, Jade, but it makes me, sometimes I think about hormones, especially these days because microplastics are causing hormone imbalances in young people. Okay. And my son had a major issue with his gut, but I helped him with that. And my nephew also. Okay. So could also be that. All right. So let's talk about it. And you'll look at divineandrogen.com. If you go to my website, you'll see a wellness appointment, like a holistic health or something like that. And so just bring your birthday and try to find your time of birth if we can find that. Okay. Yeah, so Barbara, what I'm saying is that yes, absolutely. Barbara, HRT is available in Australia. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yep. In fact, I know somebody in Australia. Check with just Google it. You can Google it, like put bio HRT near me. You can also look up Cure. You might be able to make a connection asking if Kira Sutherland. No, she's a famous astrologer there in Australia, and she's also a homeopathic natural doctor. And so she might know someone that does bio HRT if you ask. You can email her and ask her. She'll probably answer you. Jade wants to know what book you're reading, Shauna. Exactly, Jade. That's how I learned too. Doing what my mom didn't do. I did the opposite of everything she did. Okay. So now let's see if there's any questions in the group. All right, let's go back a little bit. How do you handle it when no one comes through for a person you are reading for? Great question, Bernadette. First of all, I don't really have that problem usually because I ask them specifically who they want to come through. So, in other words, in the beginning of the reading, if you come into a reading with me, and any of the people that have gotten a reading with me could tell you this, when you come in, I set the intentions. So I ask my spirit guides, and hopefully you're working with your spirit guides to do readings because you'll be more accurate and it will work better for you. And so then you call upon your spirit guides to come through and help you with, okay, so if I was doing a reading for you, I would say, please come through and help me to connect with Bernadette's spirits and any spirits around her that might have messages. Help us find closure, clarity, and understanding from the messages from the other side. Okay. And then I'm going to say, okay, Bernadette, was there a specific spirit you wanted to connect to? If so, let me know who they are. Otherwise, I'm just going to connect to any spirit around you. And then I end up like connecting to your great great grandma or something. So hopefully at that point, the sitter, the person getting the reading, in this case, it would be you, then you would say, oh, I'd really like to talk to my brother or whatever. And then we use his name. And by using his name or my brother, and then I say, okay, I'm looking for Bernadette's brother. Okay. Hey, can we find Bernadette's brother? And then the next thing you know, I have a spirit beside you that I believe is your brother. And then I start to describe him. Okay. So that's how it usually works for me. But In the very rare case, like one in maybe for like 500 clients, I will refund their money and say, I'm sorry that I don't think we make a good match. It happens about 1 in 500. Okay. But you should set intentions and that will greatly increase your accuracy. Okay. Jennifer, it is a great opportunity to develop a relationship with any spirits on the other side. So Kristen says, I feel the same. Nothing helps me except this. I feel connected most when I listen to what you and your team have to say. Well, that's great, Kristen. That's good. I think it's the spirituality, though. I mean, I don't think it's just us. I think it's the spirituality. When they come through, do you see them as like people? Okay, that's a great question. I'm glad you're asking it, Carly. So, Carly asked a great question about spirits on the other side. She said, when they come through, do you see them as like people? Like they look like what they did here? So, Carly, I like to say it like this, and I'm going to give credit to Michael Beckwith, who is a spiritual teacher, and he believes in mediumship and psychic, and he's also a spiritual, like a preacher type of person, but he's not really Christian. I forget what they call him now. New Thought. He's New Thought. Okay. So you can look him up. His name is Michael Beckwith, but he doesn't talk about psychics that much, but occasionally he does. And he has a song, okay? And he says, I see with the eye behind the eye. I hear with the ear behind my ear. I feel with the heart behind my heart. I hear with my mind beyond my mind. You see? Okay. So, Carly, no, I don't see them the way I see you. Like if you're in my Zoom room, no, I don't. But sometimes I do get a description of them. So, like, I kind of see them or I see a shadow of them. And some people see more of them than I do. So, like, for instance, I think Sarah tends to see some really strong details. Okay. And so if you're really detail oriented, I would suggest Sarah Red Crow or Nicole Hoop. If you're more interested in healing trauma or really getting into like memories or really feeling emotionally connected to a spirit on the other side, then I would suggest that you come see me or Mama Cole. Mama Cole can sometimes get some pretty strong details too, and sometimes I do too. I'll be like, oh, she had really long hair, or her hair came down just about here to her chin, and it kind of feels very straight. And she had very dark hair, okay, and I might see things like that, but not all the time, but sometimes. But I usually get enough evidence that by the end of the reading, the person's going, oh yeah, Hollis, you are definitely connected to them. So that's usually like, there's not usually a question. Okay, I think we're back. I had a little hiccup. Thanks, Lisa. Lisa Papa says, I love the way you explain things. I'm a Virgo. People with strong Virgo placements are great teachers. But thank you for noticing. Okay, so Bernadette asked another good question. Oh no, this is Bernadette. Oh yeah, Bernadette asked a question earlier. Bernadette said, when we see our loved ones when it's our time, will we be able to be with them, like continue our relationship? Like, do spirits come through still in relationships like mother-son? They'll greet you when it's time for you to go, but you're not going to be human anymore. So no, not really, because now you're a spirit and you're a soul, and now you know all of your past lives and you have a good idea of where your future is going. And so you're not human anymore. So kind of, but not really. What usually happens is you get on the other side, the person greets you, you go through soul school, As a spirit, you go through soul school, you review your life, take in the good, understand what you did wrong, and then you'll come into an agreement with the other spirits that are in your soul circle. So that would be your loved ones, your children, your parents, your siblings, your partner, the people that abused you. All of those people will come together again, and people will take on different roles. And so, like, your mom will go, okay, but next time you get to be the mom and I'm going to be the daughter. Okay. And then you guys will switch. Okay. And that's what will happen. And that's why we have many lives. Okay. It's because spirit's trying to lift your soul up and get you to evolve. Humans have to evolve. If we don't evolve, boy, oh boy. Thank God we're evolving, right? Because 100 years ago we thought it was okay to enslave black people, and it was okay to rape your wife. Okay, so we got to really change stuff. Okay, so all right, and now let's see. Yeah, Jennifer said my anxiety causes my chest to hurt so bad. That's why I took myself to a doctor, but they haven't helped me. I'm tired of feeling like I'm having a heart attack. I totally get that, Jennifer. You might want to check in on your hormones, because it is a real thing that a lot of young people. I was flabbergasted that my 9-year-old granddaughter had her period, but a lot of people um, are experiencing hormone things. So it can be a hormone thing that makes your heart do that, but it could just be anxiety, and you might need to address some things. I've had both, and they're hard to tell the difference. That's right, Kristen. Kristen Nave said, I remember you saying that you were sick and your guides were telling you to get up and do something. Yeah, I was so sick. And I was like, what? You want me to create a group? And they wanted me to create this group. And I was like, really? Now? Mediumship now is like the COVID pandemic. And they were like, yes. So I was like, okay. And I started it, and I made a lot of mistakes, but now I'm doing much better. And the mistakes is what led me to Psychic Insights, actually. But first I made the group, and now I have Psychic Insights. Okay. Angie said, you call it download. Yeah, a lot of people notice I do that. Okay, you call it a download. How do you know if what you're getting is a download or just a great imagination? Okay, I've thought things that eventually happen, but I just think I'm making stuff up. Okay, so Angie, this is I just want you to stay open-minded, okay? So, when scientists study in a psychic's mind what happens when a psychic is doing well and getting things right, the middle of their brain lights up. It's actually the same part of the brain that lights up when people are using their imagination. And so when we're children, we are told that that's your imagination, that's your imagination, that's your imagination. But I'm not always sure it's always your imagination. In fact, you can take a look at some very creative people in the world, such as the people that wrote The Simpsons, or um, Stephen King, who wrote about the pandemic before the pandemic happened. Now he added his imagination to it. Yeah. But he spent some time thinking on it. But the part that was his intuition just came to him. And that's how you tell the difference. Intuition will just come to you. Okay? It will just come. Okay? You may not be thinking of it at all. In fact, today I wasn't thinking of it at all. And I was like, oh, this is a funny little documentary. I'll watch this. And I was just eating my lunch, and I watched this documentary about witchcraft just for the fun of it. And it's like the history of witchcraft. And they were saying how doctors, now keep in mind that in my history, I've had a lot of problems with doctors, and I always feel like I end up in these weird situations that I'm not creating, and I have to report doctors for like really serious malpractice. I've had 3 doctors that I could sue for malpractice, okay? Like 3 doctors. And I don't bother to sue them because I usually catch it before it's suable, if that makes sense. But they make some pretty big, huge mistakes, okay? And like do really abusive things to me. And I have to report them. Yeah, like for serious. And I was watching a documentary about the history of witchcraft. And sometimes I've felt like I'm definitely a witch now, but maybe in a past life I was a witch, and maybe I was killed as a witch. And and they reminded me, well, they made the point that doctors were the ones that killed the witches many years ago. So that was a moment that I had that aha moment where I was like, oh, so maybe the reason I'm always ending up having to report doctors is like generational trauma or something. Maybe it's some sort of like generational thing that's being passed down, and I have to right the karma now that I'm here. Maybe that's what's going on. And so, because I hate being put in that position, to be honest with you, I hate it, Angie. But I'm constantly put in that position, and you can't help but to wonder why. And so that's why, and that's how I knew it was a true aha or intuitive or inner knowing. Claircognizance is what you're talking about. Claircognizance. Um, you're not making it up. When it just comes to you, you're not making it up. If you sit down and try to imagine a bunch of a big story, then that's imagination. Okay? That's the best way to tell. Okay? If it just comes to you though very quickly, that's intuition. Even if you're like like one day I was like, I don't know, guides, am I supposed to do this? And bam, I got an answer right away. Like my father answered me like, well, if it was me, you'd make me do it. And it was about heart surgery. And I was like, oh. And I felt like my dad like actually answered me. So I didn't spend any time thinking about it. I just thought the thought of should I do this and asked my guides out loud. And that was the answer I got very quickly, immediately. Okay. So when it comes fast, yes. Carly is saying, is there anything between the thyroid and your psychic ability? The thing is that yes, oftentimes the same hormones that are dealing with your thyroid are also dealing with your pineal gland and your middle brain, which is where psychic abilities lay. So I sometimes wonder if the reason people are having so many problems with hormones and stuff is not just because of microplastics, but maybe also because we're denying our third eye, because we're divorced from intuition and we don't listen to it anymore. We don't develop it, and we don't usually develop it until we're like 40 or something, right? Okay. Thanks, Andrea Scorer. She really appreciates this. Perimenopause hit. Lynette said perimenopause hit, and I realized I was not where I was supposed to be, so I moved 600 miles. Me too, Lynette. I moved from Pennsylvania to Colorado. Yep. Um, Makwa Kokum Nancy Louis Brisson. I'm gonna call you Makwa. Okay. Why would we choose a hard life? My life is great, but it's been a constant struggle. Often because we have things to learn. Because honestly, when was the last time you learned something by everything being easy, Makwa? When was the last time that you learned from ease? So the thing about being human is that in order for humans to evolve, we usually have to have struggle. And so sometimes you'll choose it because of that, and sometimes it might be trying to right past life karma. So you might be trying to even the scales, you might be trying to make it better, or there might be some very large mission that you're on. The best way to tell is to look at your astrology chart. Okay. Um, exactly. Mako said, I also use HRT, hot flashes from hell. It saved my sanity. See what I mean, Barbara? See? Soul school. Exactly, Makwa. Exactly. Soul school is really important. Welcome back, Melissa. Hey, Cheryl. Wait a minute. Yeah, Carly, so yours has been overactive since you were in elementary. It's really insane. So, like, do you have like Hashimoto's or something? Or maybe you were diagnosed with Hashimoto's. So, it may also be if you've experienced any kind of trauma, because that's the other thing that happens, Carly, is that trauma gets stored in our bodies, and then we express sort of in a sick way. Um, we we um we store that trauma in our body, and it if the DNA is already there to be off, then what happens is then so okay, so you said, so Carly, you should never own the disease. Saying I have Graves' disease, you're saying you have it and you're okay with that. um so instead say I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. And so if you were diagnosed with Graves' disease, then what may have also happened is if you experienced childhood trauma as a child, your body stored it and you already had the DNA, and then the trauma puts stress in your body and makes that DNA express. Okay? Angie, you're not crazy. Angie said, thank you. I've heard my daughter in my head randomly before, and I know it's her, but I also sometimes think I'm a little crazy. Congratulations, Angie. Angie, you are not crazy. You are not crazy. It is really her. Cheryl asked, hold on, Cheryl. I have a whole bunch of questions I'm trying to ask. This question and answer thing has been really important to do. I think a lot of people really need to ask questions at this point. Even though I do a question and answer every week. So Jade said, I'm having issues with my heart, but they say nothing is wrong. Go to a different doctor, Jade. Go to a different cardiologist. Yep, go to a different cardiologist. Because the condition that I have, I went to 4 doctors that diagnosed me with asthma. The condition I was diagnosed with. The condition that I was diagnosed with, I first went to 4 doctors. I even went to Pennsylvania. I went to Penn State. I went to major hospitals in Baltimore, well-known hospitals, and they all misdiagnosed me. What I actually have been properly diagnosed with is HCM, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and it is a serious condition, but is often misdiagnosed. And I know it's not the only one, Jade. Go to a different cardiologist, go to a different place. Let's talk about your symptoms, and I'll let you know if it sounds familiar. Susie, Barbara, Susie is from Australia. Definitely available. What state are you in, Barbara? Barbara, so maybe you should connect with Susie. Yeah, you're welcome, Barbara. We're just trying to help each other out. We're all great friends. How do we connect with our spirit guides? Well, we're kind of going to do that in the class, Shauna. It takes more than just a few minutes. It's a little bit harder to answer, but there's lots of different ways to do it. I'm going to do the most common way in the class, but I'll talk about that there's other ways as well. Okay? But there's tons of ways to do it. Jenny Lynn, you can schedule a reading with me at divineandrogen.com. There's also, here you go, Jenny. divineandrogen.com. You can book with me. You know, it's easy to just go to my website and book, or you can also go to psychicinsights.life. Either way, you'll find me. I also do coaching. Okay, let's see. Let's get back. I have a necklace with my baby's ashes. I learned to use it to connect with the other side. Good job, Jade. My brother comes through the most. My grandma does as well. Yes is a circle and back and forth is no, or at least I believe it is. Am I doing that right? Yeah, you're kind of using it like a pendulum. Well done. And can I use it to connect to people who aren't connected to me directly, such as my husband's dad? Yes, absolutely. You can do that, Jade. In fact, if you check out Mama Cole or Cheryl's early lives, some from a few months ago before her pendulum broke, she was using a pendulum. And that's what you're doing. You're using your necklace as a pendulum. Yeah, it's absolutely. The Simpsons show is a great example. It's wild how many things have happened later in life from their show. Exactly, Kristen. And do you think the person that created The Simpsons was like, I'm psychic? No, of course not, because our culture dismisses that. Um Aw, thanks, Kristen. You are such a great teacher and make things easier to understand. I always take away so much great information from these lives. It would be awesome if you choose to do a live about things you're feeling, seeing that's coming up in our future, especially the election, impending war, possible future pandemics, anything. Well, Kristen, the thing is I know that free will is at play, and so that's why I don't always do that. But I do a weekly forecast with astrology, and you can find that. You can look on Divine Androgen's page on my Facebook page on Divine Androgen. It's one of the admins for the Medium group, in case you can't find it. But I also post it on Psychic Insights page, so just look for it. I post it every week, and I sort of give an astrological forecast for the week. And the last thing we had that big grand cross, and that was the beginning of when North Korea joined Russia. Yeah. Okay. And that's only the beginning, and we'll probably be dealing with escalation for the next 6 months. Okay. But there's a lot of that. I do a lot of that type of prediction, and I use astrology now because otherwise my worry can really take my imagination for a ride. So, um, because because of that, I tend to use astrology. It helps me not get too carried away. Um, Hi, Alyssa. Welcome back. Always with you forever and always will be. Okay? Always. When I use my necklace to talk to the other side, I feel like I hear my grandma or my brother's answers, but I thought that maybe it's just my brain knowing what they would say. No, Jade, that's actually called claircognizance. I'll try to post it in the group after this. I made a little image that explains all the different clairs. Claircognizance is sort of like, actually, that sounds more like clairaudience. So especially if you haven't thought about it, Jade, if you haven't thought about it and it just comes in, maybe you ask them a question and it just comes right back at you like immediately. It's their energy, their soul speaking to you. So Barbara says that she's in South Australia. Who was that? It was what was her name? Uh that she's Susie. Susie K. Shaler. Barbara says she's in South Australia. Barbara, is it okay for Susie to contact you or vice versa? Maybe you two should like comment on each other's comment and reach out to each other so you can connect with a good doctor that will give you HRT. Jade, my heart has spasms similar to muscle spasms, and my resting heart rate is between 117 and 120, and sometimes my chest gets heavy. Totally get it, Jade. Totally get it. So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Um, I'm just saying I would go to a different cardiologist. Okay? Just trust me on that. I've been misdiagnosed. Blah. You're welcome, Jenny. Samantha says the soul astrology is super accurate. Ta-da! See, there's someone that tunes into our soul astrology forecast. You're welcome, Kristen. But do you have any suggestions for books or things to study to help evolve our spirit? Well, Shauna, the fact that you were in a toxic relationship tells me that you probably had a toxic childhood. So I would recommend things like The Body Keeps the Score might be a little too intense for you. You could read my book, that my book Divine Androgen. It is about being trans, but it's also about being your authentic self. Um, I'd have to think more about that. I'm not real. There's some books on my website that I recommend. I have a page that says book recommendations. And what I recommend is The Body Keeps the Score, Brene Brown, Dare to Lead, Brave Work, Tough Conversations, and Whole Hearts. Anything by Brene Brown is totally worth reading. Brene Brown is really amazing. You're welcome, Kristen. You're welcome. I'm glad I could give you some information. Oh, Susie is probably, I don't know. She's not in a group. She's on a page. I don't know. I don't know, Barbara. But she's in Australia. Huh. Samantha, if you're here, could you let me know it's okay to connect you and Barbara? I could probably connect you guys somehow. Okay. All right, so let's go back to here and see if there's some more questions. Cheryl asked me, what do I put on my altar? I usually put things like stones for sure. Like I use this stone a lot in readings. This is malachite and it takes negative energy. And so grief is very negative, but also it helps me ground my self-doubt out of my hand because in case you didn't know, the biggest challenge for most mediums is self-doubt. And so that's a really good one. I have an amethyst, a little amethyst here on this is my working altar. I also have an altar like this. This is a statue. I can't remember her name right now. I might remember it in a minute. But she is, as you can see, kind of a larger body. And this statue is available. You can get it on Amazon. It was the ancient pagans had it. And it's a reminder that my body is perfect just the way it is. I have this little guy, which is from my niece, which always just makes me think of them and my connections to others and how I help others. And I have lots of stones up here. I have other little things that help me remind things of people. This is a seahorse, which always reminds me that being trans is sacred because I'm a trans person. And then, I have my turtle. This is my working altar. It helps me slow down, right? And my ancestors' altar, I mostly have pictures of them or items from them or like things from their funeral. And I put it all together, and my spouse and I share the same altar for our ancestors. You're welcome, Carly. I have an underactive thyroid. I'm on meds for it. I've had multiple traumas in my life. It takes work for me to tap into spirit. Is it related? Yes, Kat, it is related. The thyroid medication, so you have hypothyroid. There are some natural alternatives. It might be the meds that you're on, but it could also be the trauma. If you work through the trauma, the hypothyroid might go away, or you might be able to try stuff like bovine hormones. I don't exactly, I was like kind of borderline for hypothyroid. But when I was tested, but I believe I've struggled with it. I think it kind of comes and goes. But you can get a bovine thyroid medicine, which is natural. It's from an animal rather than being a synthetic steroid, a synthetic thyroid hormone. Melissa said, "What's wrong with crazy?" Okay. How can we remove the stored trauma from our body? What a great question, Andrea. So usually the best way to remove the trauma stored in your body is there's a list of ways. Okay. So somatic exercises, yoga, meditation, dance. Some people think drumming might work. and that's being studied. Um, Also, there's some work you can do with a therapist, such as EMDR, and there's lots of new things coming out all the time. I highly recommend reading the book The Body Keeps the Score. You don't know that the trauma is in your body. It's just kind of there, and you get used to it, so it feels normal. And then so then sometimes you'll repeat things, and even when things trigger you, you don't even know that it's related to whatever happened to you when you were 5 or whatever. Um, so it's kind of like, but you're still reacting to it. So, like, for instance, sometimes people will have somebody die and they're like, I just can't get over this. And it's kind of excessive for their relationship with that person. And then when we start to really dig in, we recognize that they actually never processed the last 3 deaths that they experienced in their life. So now they're processing 4 deaths at once because now they finally have room or space to do it. When we oppress our emotions after an unnecessary, if you don't express your emotions, that's a real problem. It will make you sick. And if you that's why I always tell my clients, tears are a shower for your soul. Okay. So tears are washing your soul. They are healing you. So tears are healing. Please don't stop them. Okay. So yoga is really good. And sometimes when you're doing these processes, if you have a lot of childhood trauma, if you've experienced a lot of childhood trauma and you start doing like yoga or whatever, what I would be doing yoga and I would just bust out in tears. I would just bust out. And like half the time I wasn't even really doing anything. I was just like, like sitting on the mat or something and I would just bust out in tears. And I had no idea why I was crying. And I would just allow myself, because my therapist was like, just allow yourself to cry. Just allow the tears to come because they have to. You have to feel it to heal it. Okay? All right. Cheryl's saying, yes, please listen to them about the heart for Jade. I had a blockage and was in and out, almost died from a misdiagnosis. Yep. If something doesn't feel right, keep going till you feel helped. So Kat said, yes, I've been diagnosed with atrial fib and a murmur. My doctor said it was anxiety for years and gave me a sedative for it. Exactly, Kat. And that's something completely different, right? Okay. Okay. Welcome, Sydney. I feel a lot of guilt about my boyfriend who passed. I did my best. How do we have closure, especially when there were so many questions not answered? Joe, usually medium readings will help, but also I do death astrology. That can be really helpful, so it can answer some of those questions that you have lingering. It's a very personal experience, but I'm sure it can help you bring closure. I'm sure of it. But I would get a death astrology reading. Okay? Cheryl said she still uses her pendulum, by the way. Maybe, Cheryl, you should do like a live about how to use a pendulum or something. Great, Victoria. I'm glad I give you hope. Debbie said, hello, I'm here again, hoping to get some insight from my baby brother's death. His name is Roy Paul. Okay, I'm not doing readings today. Wow. Carly, check my thyroid levels. She said, check your thyroid levels. My resting heart rate was 120 when I was 15. Oof. That makes me anxious. Okay, you guys. The 4 agreements. Exactly, Cheryl. The 4 agreements can help with trauma. They can help you change your mindset. And Brene Brown is awesome. Yep, Brene Brown is absolutely fabulous. And Kat said, I was diagnosed with atrial fib and a heart murmur. I also experienced multiple traumatic events. Can they be connected? They are connected, Kat. In fact, you should look it up, Kat. It's called epigenetics. It's a real science that's being studied at Colorado State University. So what we think when they say stress is the biggest killer, they're not kidding. Because what happens is, so like you have your DNA, right? And why does this person with the same DNA as this person get cancer? This person gets cancer and this person doesn't. Why does that happen? Why does this person develop a heart condition and this person doesn't? It's because of the way they live their life. Um, and we know that trauma is stored in the body, right? So we've already Dr. Bessel van der Kerk and the thousands of psychiatrists, psychologists that worked with him proved that mostly through vets. And that's where the diagnosis complex PTSD came from. Okay. And so, so the fact that you were diagnosed with atrial fib and a heart murmur tells me that maybe the DNA was already there, but you've also experienced a lot of traumatic events in your life. I've also had the same thing. I have not been diagnosed with atrial fib, or but I did have a murmur when I was young, and I kind of have it now. Okay. Um, I've also she's so Kat's saying, are they connected? They are connected. So the childhood trauma that you experienced put you under a lot of stress, and so then the genetic makeup in your body that you were born with then expresses. It doesn't mean it's your fault or anything. I would check out um, Rewired on Gaia TV by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and you can also read Becoming Supernatural, Kat, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to do. That's why we don't say I have whatever disease you were diagnosed with. We don't say I have it. We say I was diagnosed with it, because then your brain believes anything you say, right? So that's what we're trying to do. So you might be able to even stop the atrial fib in your heart, Kat, if you do enough of these meditations recommended by Dr. Joe. Okay. And all right. That's right. Twin spirit folks are sacred in multiple cultures. They are often the shaman. Exactly. How can I identify? But I don't call myself two spirit, because first of all, two spirit comes from the indigenous cultures of the United States. And the indigenous cultures that were here in the United States started using two spirits in the 80s. And it was just to recognize all of the GLBTQ community, not just trans people. And so it's a little bit different. So we have to be careful about that word two spirits. And I didn't grow up in a tribe, so I will not use that word. How can I identify how the triggers affect the traumas? I feel instantaneous rage sometimes for something small. I don't know why. I'm really trying to work on me and get to the most authentic self. Whew, Kat, I don't know exactly what you're talking about there. I'm going to say yoga. Yoga has been the absolute best thing I've ever done for me and for my health. And I think it may have actually helped my heart not express an atrial fib. At least it hasn't done it. And so I personally think yoga and doing Reiki on yourself. I don't know if you're Reiki attuned. If not, I can attune you. I can do a Reiki 1 with you very easily. Just takes a couple, just one coaching package will get you Reiki 1, and we'll do Reiki 1 together, and I'll attune you. I can go all the way to Reiki 3. I am a Reiki master, but Reiki 1, you can heal yourself, essentially. So I did yoga and Reiki on myself every single day for years. And also, I would pay very close attention to the diet you're eating. I know it sounds weird, but exercise and also writing. You may find there's lots of different things. I do offer trauma coaching that can really help you identify things and get into how to unwind each little trigger. So it's kind of a lot to get into here, Kat, but I can tell you there's a lot of different ways. I highly recommend yoga and somatic exercises, and Reiki on yourself. Okay. But I do have, if you look at my website and you go into my packages, if you click the link that says save money with a package, click that, and it will list all my packages. There's a trauma coaching thing. That's right. Makwa said, our teachings. Tears are a way of um, expelling trauma. Don't ever try to stop them. It will make you sick for sure. Absolutely. Um, Good, Kat. You're on your way, Kat. You might just need a little coaching, and maybe some Reiki to add in there to your meditation and yoga. So it sounds like you're already doing it, but I would add some Reiki in there, some energetic healing. I do believe that that really did help me. Um, Caro said, I would love a live on Pendulum, Cheryl. Okay. So it looks like that's what you got to do. We'll probably do that over in Mystical Connection. So I hope you all can hang in there for that. I'm glad you're all here. And I'm glad that we've had this talk today. And let me just go back here and see if there's any more. Okay. Messaging with Susie now. Great, Barbara. I'm glad you found her. That way you can get yourself connected to something. Okay. Great. Good job, Susie. Thanks. Oh, Kristen was the bridge. I attempted to tag Barbara Pevick to Susan. I hope this helps them connect. Me too. Um, all right. Well, I'm glad that you all came here. Alyssa would like a live about pendulum too, Cheryl. I think you should do it, Cheryl. Do you have spirits come to you during these types of lives when you're talking to people, or are you able to control them? No, spirits only come to me when I say it's okay. Sometimes I'll get intuitive ideas about people or feelings about people when I'm doing these lives. Sometimes I'll say something. Once you get good boundaries, it's not that hard to keep spirits off of you. It's pretty easy. You just have to develop good boundaries. As someone who has a plethora of diagnoses, what's definitely a good way to retrain my brain as far as saying I've been diagnosed with as opposed to I have. Um, just correcting yourself constantly, Alyssa. It's sort of like gender pronouns, you know? You just keep correcting yourself over and over and over again until it gets better. Also maybe watch Rewired if since you've been diagnosed with a bunch of stuff. I would definitely watch Rewired and maybe read Dr. Joe Dispenza Becoming Supernatural. Okay. Probably help you a lot. Yep. All right, my friends. Well, it's been a great night with all of you. I'm so glad that you've all learned something. I'm so glad that you all tuned in tonight. And we did talk a little bit about learning to honor your ancestors and the dead. It is really important. We'll be doing more of that on Sunday night. I hope you can join us. We'll be having a community event in Zoom. There's a link. If you go to the event areas of the group or the page that you're on, you'll see it. It's a, um, you know, there's a thing about honoring the dead. I personally think that it's how you heal grief. It is the way to heal grief. I believe that it is the best way to heal grief. It is the first step to healing grief, is to learn to honor the dead, not just mourn the dead. Now, mourning is very important. It is important to cry, which we've talked a lot about. And it's also important to honor the dead, even if you do it while you're crying. Okay? So we can talk more about that. We'll be doing a special ceremony to honor the dead. I hope that you will come on Sunday because I'm hoping to help us participate in honoring the dead, and we can honor your dead, your recent past. We would love to speak their names out loud and things like that. So I hope that you will come. I hope that you will bring your big heart and your love. And your open mind. And that will be on Sunday, and that is Samhain. I'm also doing a seance on Halloween night, which is also known as Samhain night, which is October 31st. I'll be doing it in the evening. It'll be a seance. I will broadcast it probably, but I'll stop interacting with people because I can't do both. And my spouse will be playing music, and I'll be in Zoom. So you can register for the event. I suspect that it will, usually I do it every year, and often it gets very full. My ancestors love that I do it. And so make sure you get registered for it. so that you can get the link sent to your email. You can see that also. It's also in the events area. And also, I'm having a class, which I think is like Wednesday or something. Um, and that's really important. I hope that you can make it to our class. Learn to connect to the other side. When you learn to connect, you also are honoring them because you're not ignoring them anymore. And I think that that's really important, when you're listening, and listening to our spirit guides, listening to the other side is really important for all of us. Okay. All right, friends. Well, it's been a fun night hanging out with all of you. I'm glad that you all came. Cheryl said healing on Gaia. I'm not sure what healing is. I don't know. Maybe it's a show I didn't watch yet. There is a show by Dr. Joe Dispenza on Gaia called Rewired. Okay. All right, friends. I would love to hear from you. Remember, I offer coaching. I offer astrology death chart readings, which can really give you a good perspective. And I, of course, do mediumship readings. And I have a class at the end of the month to help you personally connect to the other side. And I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in my Zoom room. And I hope that you have a great evening and enjoy the rest of your night. Goodbye.
Are you seeking guidance on your spiritual journey? Need help with a vexing problem? Missing a loved one and looking for answers? Look no further than Psychic Insights, a small trusted psychic service offering mediums, psychics, and spiritual coaching. This service is managed by Hollis Taylor, a gifted psychic medium, astrologer, and a compassionate coach. We are dedicated to helping you navigate your spiritual awakening. At Psychic Insights, we provide medium readings and psychic insight to help you plan for tomorrow and make choices for today. Find the support you need, compassionate grief coaching, and astrological insights to help you spiritually grow and transform. Our professional services include well-managed schedules, recorded sessions, and reliable psychic mediums ready to facilitate your transformational experience. Discover more at psychicinsights.life.